Good morning and welcome to my May 6th, 2026. This is video number 5, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about your first wake up in everlasting life. The previous video I did on Judgment Day, so I'm going to quickly recap. Judgment Day is going to be a day of first contact. Anywhere where there is human beings on the planet, they're going to wake up and there's going to be spaceships everywhere. So it doesn't matter if you're lost in the jungle somewhere, they're going to know you're there because God will guide them. And then you're going to have, at some point, the spaceships will come down and you're going to have the option of staying on the earth or going anywhere in the universe. And this is unbelievable, but we have God's technology in everlasting life. And it allows us to traverse the universe in ways that we think is impossible. And on Judgment Day, you have to meet God. Everybody meets God on Judgment Day. And you have one or two ways of meeting God. First one is face to God's infinite image. That is, it is within this physical universe. All you'll do is say out loud, "Father, I wish to speak with you." And out of a single point of light, like a tiny little star, a screen appears. It's not a screen, it is a rip in space-time. And there will be the infinite image of God. That's the image that God chose for itself when God chose itself to be creator and parent. Right from the beginning, it was the same image that it is now, and this image will never ever change. It is infinite. So that's the first way. And then we communicate with God verbally. There is no metaphysical telepathic connection to God. And it is up to us to seek the Creator. That means that God never approaches us first. And there is an exception to this, and that is when we have children, because our children are God's children as well. That is how God has more children, is when His children have children. And God helps us raise our children. And in that way, God babysits for us. And so, let's say you put your toddler in their crib and then you go do dishes and stuff, and your baby gets out and then is in danger, then that is the only time that God will appear and tell you, Azkirith Muna is heading over to the pool. She's on the path. And it is jarring. You will scream and jump. It is, I guess, kind of like a, what do they call it? Jump scare. And the second way that we communicate with God is soul to God's infinite image. Our souls exist in God's dimension outside of the physical universe. And that's where God exists as well. God is not in any way taking part in the universe. The universe is God's technology. It is independent of God, although in order for the universe to exist, God has to exist. So God does hold the universe somehow together. That is, it is in existence because God exists. And let's call this the 10th dimension. So God exists in His own dimension, and that is where our souls exist as well. So our souls are not part of this physical universe. And so God has the power to withdraw our souls from our biology. And this happens when we're asleep. And then God, we are soul to God's infinite image. We're facing God. in God's dimension. And then we have verbal communication again. So everybody meets God on Judgment Day. You have to meet God the second way. 100% for sure you will meet God the second way. You don't have to ever, 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 once you join Everlasting Life, call Father out loud. You don't ever have to do that. But because we live for infinity, there's going to be a point where one day you will seek the Creator. But on Judgment Day, we need to give God permission to cleanse our souls. When you are sold to God's infinite image, Father will answer any questions that you have about what is happening, and then He will ask you for permission to cleanse your soul. And during this cleanse, God will remove the intelligence virus from your soul. That means any memory that is negative, and that includes memories of negative things you did, anybody did to you, or you witnessed, or you saw even in movies. And while this is happening at the same time, God also will cleanse those memories from Himself. In that, God will choose to forget anything negative about you. And that is God's forgiveness. Because God has the power to do this, to forget. So that when you wake up in everlasting life, you will have no memory of anything negative did. You will only remember your good deeds. And also know that God will see you as that good person for infinity as well. And it doesn't matter what you've done. Once you choose everlasting life and you wake up on Judgment Day, you will receive God's forgiveness 100%. So that's what's going to happen when you first go to sleep in everlasting life, because it's real life, and so we're all going to need that sleep. So you wake up, it's just another day, the birds are singing, everything's just normal, except that you remember that yesterday was Judgment Day. And if you stayed on the earth, then you remember the busy, busy, busy day that it was, where within that 24 hours, that is Judgment Day, the alien intelligence cleaned up the earth free of all garbage with God's help. And also, with God's help, we cleaned up all of the intelligence virus. That means all technology, all books, movies, even history books, everything goes into the garbage disposal, where we just push a button and it zaps it into the nearest black hole. We use black holes as recyclers in everlasting life. And so you wake up, let's say you stayed on the earth, you would have found a home, an empty home of somebody who chose death, for example, like your neighbor, yeah. And it will be then yours. And then the alien intelligence will give you technology. So a laptop or a cell phone, anything you want, vehicles, anything you want. And know that in EL, we use both technologies. So we use cars and boats that are powered by gas, and also power cells. And the reason that we use both is because men and women like working on cars. They like to, do what we do right now, just pimp them up, I guess. So it's not that, we're always using God's technology for everything. We like mechanical things as well. But our batteries are power cells. And so I'll just give you my example from my memory of waking up in EL, because my family chose to leave our birth planet on Judgment Day. And so we were taken to the nearest planet, and there we were given a brand new house on an acreage by a lake, surrounded by forests and a few neighbors. And there we had everything we needed. We had the technology, but children, the technology does not work for them, and this is God's decision. God makes it so that children are not allowed to use the technology the way that adults do. So you have to, I think, be, let's just say 25. I don't remember the exact age before the technology will start. You can program the technology and use it to, like on Star Trek, replicate. Except that I don't know if I want to call it replicate, because God's technology actually creates something. But I guess it's still a replication. So I'll just call it replicate. And on the technology will be all of your dearest memories, pictures, art that does not have the intelligence virus on it. So your music, if you're a musician, and if you're an architect, it'll have your blueprints and all of your all of your dearest work will be on there. So if you choose EL and you want your art to be added to everlasting life for infinity, to be enjoyed by trillions, then you have to make sure there's no intelligence virus on it. It has to be safe for children. Everlasting life is safe for children everywhere. And then you'll maybe want to learn how to pilot a spaceship. And your alien intelligence neighbors, who are all human beings, of course, just different races, many, many, many different races, they will be there to help you. So they're going to teach you, but also you can choose to go to school. You can take a class. And then you'll be able to begin your vacation. That is what my family did. Well, we stayed on our acreage, but we were given a boat that was parked at the lake. And it was a nice, big, lavish boat with like a couple of decks and, bedrooms and just the fanciest stuff. And we would fish and swim, and my dad discovered he loved fireworks. So at night we would always have fireworks. We'd have fires. We'd go on hikes. My family, well, except for my brother, but for myself at least, I was quite slow at learning to pilot a spaceship. And so our neighbors came, and eventually they piloted a spaceship and took us back to our birth planet, to our apartment, which was held vacant for us, to retrieve anything that was dear to us, which turned out to be not a lot of things, actually. And then we cleaned the apartment up. Meanwhile, while we were gone, somebody did come in and remove all the food and stuff, so that it wouldn't spoil. But other than that, it was left vacant for us. And then, you go on your cell phone and you list the address of the apartment as vacant, and so that anybody in the universe who wants to move to that planet can then move into that apartment. And everything's free, of course. Everything's just passed down. We're very conscientious when it comes to the environment. So if you have a vehicle like that you've been working on, let's say a 79 Camry, and you do it all up and stuff, and then you're done with it, and you just want to start working on a different car, then you go on the Uninet, so the Universal Internet, and you post it, and somebody who finds it will then just come and pick it up. There's no money in everlasting life, but we all live like billionaires, number one, because we have God's technology that allows us to create anything. And I'll talk more about the technology later and what it can do. It's really incredible. But yeah, you'll receive everything and anything for free, and you'll live lavishly, best of the best, everything for free. And Jesus promised this, didn't he? Right? So you'll have to learn the universal everlasting life language. So that's the thing, is that we have a common language. So anywhere that we go in the universe, we can all understand each other, and God speaks to us in this language as well. And that doesn't mean there's, you have to lose your language. I know we love our languages. I myself, English is my third language. So I have a mother tongue, and it's very dear to me. But in Yale, we all communicate with that one language. And so then, like I said, you can either go on a vacation, or you can, like I said, go to school. And that's where you're going to meet people. So we have functioning societies. We don't have AI in everlasting life. We don't have robots doing anything for us. I'm not saying we don't have machines and tools. We do. But we like taking part and doing things. And, when you live for infinity, there's going to be a point where you're going to gain new interests and want to learn new skills. And also, we go to school and get jobs to meet people, to make new friends, and one day to find our soulmate. So we go on dates. And because we have a functioning society, we have restaurants, we have, sports events where people compete. We have, parks and theme, like roller coasters, all those theme parks. We have, we do extreme sports. Think of it, and it exists in everlasting life because it's real life, and we love our physical lives. And so once you find somebody that you're interested in dating, then you'll be able to go on dates, real dates. You'll go to a nice restaurant. There's going to be a server person. You're going to order your food and get it freshly made, just like now, so that we have functioning societies. And because there's so many of us, there's always somebody who's interested in doing something, a job. And so you can do that. You can go to school, learn a new skill, like maybe a barber, and, and just completely integrate yourself into society. So one thing I forgot to mention is that while you're sold to God's infinite image, Father will ask you what age you wish to wake up at. So that if you're elderly, you'll wake up and be youthful again. Now this only works ages 30 and up. So you can't wake up and be a child again. We all have only one childhood. And if you have any body part missing, then know that when you wake up in everlasting life, you will be whole. And I'm only quickly going to say this, but in everlasting life, I know right now, people are really identifying by their sexuality. It seems to be, their number one thing that they care about themselves. But it's not like that. Your soul is genderless. Your soul does not have gender. It's just that your biology, it's either one or the other. And so during my first awakening, I asked God, what about people who are, confused? And the answer, which was in the form of a memory, was tell them everything will feel right. So whatever is happening internally that you're struggling with, I'm not saying God will remove your personality and remove you, but God will heal any kind of mental illnesses that we have right now. And a lot of them are caused by the intelligence virus. A lot of them are a direct result of abuse while we were children. Or direct result of something we witnessed or found, for example, on the internet, that can then give us the intelligence virus. And then we start believing that it's, the intelligence virus is okay when it's not. So when you wake up in everlasting life, you'll be healed. So we do not have, we only have heterosexual relationships in everlasting life. And that is because when we live for infinity, you will want a child. You will want to become a parent. And the thing is that once God marries us, it's for infinity. There's no divorce. And so we go on, you can think of it as a quest. Sometimes people are not ready for a long time to find their soulmate. But then sometimes they just start thinking about it. And then they go on quests to find their soulmate, or a journey, I guess. And when you find that person, you start dating. There's no physical relationship. There isn't even a thinking about it. Your body doesn't go through those needs that we experience now. It's just you become friends. And then when you fall in love and they fall in love with you, and you have that conversation about getting married, then God marries us. We call Father, face to God, God's infinite image, and God marries us. And then God grants us the gift of soulmate bond. Soulmate bond is a gift from God. When I say this is a gift from God, that means it's otherwise not possible in this universe. It's not part of the universe. It's something extra. It's a gift that God gives us. And soulmate bond is how we experience that physical passion for each other as husband and wife. Until that time, it'll never even cross your mind. In fact, I'll remember my husband, Lysander, who is 30 universe cycles older than me. So he was looking for his soulmate for that long, 30 universe cycles, before he met me and we fell in love. And on our wedding night, after we were married, we started talking about the gift of soulmate bond, and he didn't even know what it did. I didn't know either. But soulmate bond works by you have to be near to your spouse physically. You have to be in the same room, and all you have to do is think about your soulmate bond and want to experience soulmate bond, both of you at the same time. And then, if you watched my video about soulmate bond, I know we're a very hyper physically focused society, but let me tell you, soulmate bond is 100 times more intense, better. Soulmate bond links our souls. And from what I experienced, and I only experienced without the physical togetherness, of course, I was by myself, but it is what we would describe as euphoria. It's just, and it's like my mind 100% was on my soulmate. And of course, I'm here on the earth. And my husband was right outside my window in a cloaked personal spaceship, so they're really small. That is how soulmate bond works. You have to be near physically, but I didn't realize that till much later. So I know how that sounds. It must sound really weird hearing that, but and excuse me, it was euphoria, and all I could think about was my soulmate. So if you're lonely and you're finding that you're just not lucky in love, as they say, your soulmate is out there. It might take a while to learn, to find your forever soulmate. You might go on a journey. Look at Lysander, 30 universe cycles. He dated, but he just never fell in love. He never felt like this is it until we met. And to me, that's a special chapter in my book. We eloped. So in EL, if you get married, you can plan a date just like you do now. You plan the party, you invite people, you get that special dress, and you have your, bridesmaids and groomsmen, and it's a big occasion. And but that doesn't work for everybody. And me and my husband eloped. So when you wake up in everlasting life, it's gonna be you. There's gonna be no difference in how you feel. Even though God cleansed your soul, you're still gonna be you. If you have fear of, let's say, space, open spaces, you have agoraphobia, you will have to face your fears the way that you do now. You will have to be brave in certain situations until you face that fear. It's gonna be. So God removes the intelligence virus, but we still experience real negative experiences, internal experiences, like fear, and we still get angry, but we all follow the God's one law. God's one law, we all know it as God's one law. Thou shalt not prevent nor hinder the free will of anyone. Thou shalt not enslave anyone to your will. Of course, there's exceptions for when we're parents, right? Because we're not going to let our kids do whatever. Kids must listen, always, even in EL. So, also, upon the first day in everlasting life, Jesus will come back to the earth. And Jesus lives in everlasting life with us. Jesus is God's child. He is a human being, just like me and you. But Jesus was not created through evolution. Jesus was created by the power of God. God has the power to create a human being. And I don't know whether Jesus is telepathic with God. My personal opinion is that I think maybe they are. That they are father and son are very, it's a different kind of, it's a higher level relationship. But Jesus has free will just like we do. And so Jesus has to choose himself to do what he does on infant intelligence planets. That is Jesus's purpose for creation. And know that God has only ever done this once and will never ever do it again. And that is how Jesus is very unique and special. But like I said, Jesus is a human being. But God gave Jesus two gifts. The first one is that once Jesus meets us, he never forgets us. Once Jesus meets you, he'll always know your name and remember your conversation. And this makes us very, very happy. And it makes Jesus happy too. Because what Jesus does is travel the universe to meet every single last one of us. All of God's new children. And that, in EL, there's always somebody being born. So Jesus, all he does is travel the universe in a spaceship, in his own personal spaceship. That's his home. He probably has a home somewhere. I actually don't know. But, and he seeks all of God's new children. And so he will return to the earth the day after Judgment Day, after the earth has been cleansed. And once he meets everybody on the earth, which may take several decades, then Jesus will get in his spaceship and go to those planets to where the rest of the earthlings have moved to. So one day when you're in everlasting life, you will meet Jesus too. We all meet Jesus. And Jesus becomes our friend over time. So you may not bump into Jesus for 2 universe cycles, but when you do, Jesus will remember your conversation. He'll know your name. He'll be like, "Hey, John, how are you? I haven't seen you since. How's this?" And in that way, Jesus is a friend to all of us. And that makes us very, very, very happy. Because Jesus, he's our Savior. Jesus chooses himself to be born on infant intelligence planets and points at the right God, and tells us, don't have slaves, seek the truth, do good deeds. Those are the only things you need to know that are in the Bible, is about Jesus. And on that standing, I don't believe everything that's in the Bible. Jesus said, seek the truth, and that means question. And there are stories like where Jesus was in the temple and he had basically a temper tantrum. I don't believe that story. I don't believe that because I think that was written by somebody to elevate holy places as church being somehow holy, which it's not. And isn't it in the Ten Commandments not to have idols? Basically, some people worship churches in that way. But anyways, I'm not trying to get into that. But then Jesus' second gift, and this for those of us who love nature and gardening and plants, is that he can bless a seed. So you bring Jesus your seed, and he has the power to bless it, so that when you plant that plant, and you take care of it for 3 years, you must not let it die. So it's a commitment. Then God will add it to everlasting life, and that plant will always be perfect. And it doesn't matter what happens, if there's a drought or fire, if it's cut down, it will always grow back and always be perfect. And if it's a fruiting tree or a vegetable tree, it will always have perfect fruit. It will always be very bountiful. And we can then make juice from these fruits. And we call this the rejuvenation juice. And rejuvenation juice is very special because when we drink it, it makes us not hungry, not thirsty, not uncomfortable, not in pain, and not tired. So it's very, very useful. It's very, very handy. Let's say you're in a submarine and you're, down there doing your discoveries and, studying the environment and the animals. And you're really, really just, working. And, you just start to feel tired and you have to go to the bathroom and you're tired and you're hungry and all that stuff. You just have a sip and it just like resets you. So we can go for a long time without sleep when we have rejuvenation juice, without food. We love it. It's so handy. And it's also handy for when we have children, right? And they're crying and they have a tummy ache. You just give them a little sip and they're all better. But it is rare because Jesus has the power to do this only once every 100 million years. So he's very choosy about whether he blesses a seed or not. And those are the two gifts that God gave his only son, Jesus. And so everybody meets Jesus in everlasting life. And I hope for those of you who love Jesus are looking forward to it. And also I hope that you're happy that Jesus is not burdened to be judge and then the ruler. Like really truly think about what it says in the Bible about Jesus coming back and ruling for 1,000 years. Like, do you really think Jesus is a political person? And I saved the best for last. Unicorns. Unicorns are real. I know. You're probably just rolling your eyes right now, thinking, oh, that this is just nuts. That's okay. Like I said, everlasting life, the transition is very, very smooth. You're going to bring your doubts, fears into everlasting life. And some of this stuff you will not believe until you see it. It was like that for me too. Okay? All of God's gifts, you're going to have to experience them to believe them. So I'm not worried about whether you believe it or not. I do hope that you just wish it was true at least. But unicorns are a gift from God to us, and we receive many cool gifts. That's just one of them. Usually, during a universe cycles, unicorns spawn one herd at a time in the entire universe out of thin air. God writes it into the universe program somewhere it's a 7-step program known as the word program, which I'll just get into next time. And they randomly spawn on life planets in a herd of horse-like creatures. And they're horse-like so that we can ride them. And they're always different looking and unique. And so they're never just the same kind of species, breed. And they can be basically any colors. And they're always spawn as a herd of baby animals. They're always babies when they first spawn. And then if you're lucky and you're traveling the universe, you may bump into unicorns and then experience unicorns, pet them, get to know, maybe even become really close to one of them. And they don't have their horns. They start growing horns when they start reaching adulthood, maturing. So that's when it's kind of like a cycle of their life, right? And there's nothing magical about the horns. It's just part of like their signature. That's how you know that what you're seeing is a gift from God. And on Judgment Day, um, anywhere where there are God's new children, anywhere in the universe, unicorns will spawn. So it's a very special time for us in everlasting life too, because unicorns are so rare. But on Judgment Day, on an infant intelligence planet, there will be many, many of them, many groups all over the universe. And then you can travel and visit all different kinds of unicorns. But you cannot, the technology, it doesn't allow us to take videos or pictures. So you can't show people, here, look at these unicorns, look at this one, look at that one. The technology doesn't work. They have to be experienced in person. But we can paint them, right? Lots of people go and paint them. And unicorns start to grow wings. I think they live, I can't remember whether it's 30 or 300 years. I think it's very short. I think it's only like 30 years. But once they start growing wings, then you know that not long after, they will take to the air, and then when they're very high up, they will disappear. And that's how unicorns basically die. But they only fly that one time. So they'll never fly. They'll have wings. And you can ride them and they'll run really fast, but they'll never fly. They only fly that one time when they are leaving. And it's very, very sad. Especially if you get close to one of them, just like I did. And you always have that memory, though. But it's just one of those things. You'll travel, and then all of a sudden you bump into unicorns, and it's just like, it feels like magic. They are really kind of magical. Their colors and just, they're always different. They look different. Like, I can't even, like, I have a very low imagination, which is funny because I'm a writer, but really, uh, those are all recycled ideas. None of it is, I'm not creative enough to create everlasting life for you. Trust me. I can't even, like, when they do IQ tests, I have a hard time envisioning all the IQ test questions answers. So my imagination is very limited. So also, when you join everlasting life, know that God will not be able to connect you to your friends. We have to, because of the one law, of course, free will. But we have in God's technology, which I'm gonna make a whole other video about because it's insane, incredibly. It's so incredible. You won't believe it. But there's an app. Are they looking for me? And basically, You go and you look somebody up. And if they didn't look you up, then you won't find them. But it saves that you look them up. So that if when they go look you up, then it'll give them your number because you look them up. And that's how we find each other in everlasting life. But as far as animals, and that's one of the things you'll be able to do is rescue animals. We take care of our life planets, and we take care of wild animals. We rescue them. You can become a veterinarian and learn how to heal animals. And so if you lose your cell phone or anything, then you can call Father and be like, Father, I can't find my cell phone. Where is it? And then Father will guide you and tell you where you're. So isn't that kind of cool, right? Can't really lose anything. Let's say you lose an earring or a ring, right? God will then help you tell you where it is. And if you lose your pet, God will tell you where your pet is. And so in that way, forget the point I was trying to make. But yes, so you cannot, you cannot. And then of course, if it's your own child, when they're little, when God helps us raise them, then God will tell you where they are. So there are really set in stone rules, but there's seems to always be an exception. But that exception is set in stone. So I think my next video I'm gonna try and put out tomorrow. And I think I am gonna make it on the technology. So thank you for sticking around. I try to talk fast and make shorter videos. This one's 3 minutes shorter than the last one, so I'm happy. So I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're intrigued. Please ask me questions. I'll make a whole video answering it. And peace.